Hi everyone, welcome back. Now, if you guys are working on agentic workflow or looking to deploy your agents from your local machine to AWS, this video is definitely for you. And I don't say normally this, but do not skip this video. It will definitely help you out if you are trying to deploy your agents into AWS environment. And how we're gonna achieve that is by using new AWS service, which is called AgentCore. Now, if you haven't heard about AgentCore, that's completely fine. It's recent release from AWS environment. It's a managed service, and we're gonna cover step by step in this tutorial. So you're gonna know how you can use the service. Now, basically, why we are discussing about AgentCore and how it comes into the picture when we talk about agentic workflow. Now, basically agent, we have seen this pattern where people are developing their agents into their local machine. Now you can see different frameworks, but they are struggling to deploy this into AWS environment. There's a lot of work which needs to be done once your agent is created locally. Infrastructure setup, which is like you are spinning up your EC2 instances, you're spinning up your Lambda, and then you are setting up the pipeline to deploy into those computes. This is what has been taken care by AgentCore here. Now AWS has launched this new service which allow you to create your own agents. It also have a feature where it can create agent for you, but you can bring your own agents like using any framework, using not just Bedrock, but using any separate third-party LLMs. And it will allow you to seamlessly deploy into AWS environment, and it's gonna scale it for you. You don't have to worry about spinning up any resource from your end. And so now in this tutorial, I'm going to cover up creating an agent, deploying into AWS environment, and testing it. I will also take it further where we're going to create a separate agent which is not created by you can say agent core, and we're going to see how we can basically leverage agent core and deploy our existing agent into AWS environment. So without wasting our time, let's jump into the code base. So for creating and deploying an agent, there's a tutorial which I'm gonna follow. It's like a starter kit, and if you literally see, there are 5 or 6 steps. It's like you install the dependencies, you create agent core, and then you test and you deploy. There is a better tutorial if you go on the left side and you see with the runtime service contract, which I open another one. It is more detailed and much better. I've seen there's a few things which have been missed out in the previous starter kit, and which they have explained here. So let's follow this one because this is much better. Before we start, there's a prerequisites which you should have. You should have a AWS CLI setup. If you don't, just go and set it up. It's quite easy there. And you should have a Python 3.10 or above. I mean, this is a requirement because we normally use strands as well. I've seen the same pattern there as well, the same requirement. Boto 3, we're going to use it for our testing. And apart from AWS permission, you should have a Claude 4.0 enabled, and for this tutorial, and that's it. So first step is basically we create a directory, we install we create the environment, and we activate the environment. For this, let me take you to my VS Code, and here we are. Basically here, if you see, I have created a folder which is AgentCore demo, and I'm just going to use this to create. So I'm creating a directory, activating the environment there, and that's it. So let's wait for it. Now we have done this, so let's go and install the other dependency. They're saying to upgrade the pip, and we are gonna do that. Let me close this stuff. And once we have done this, then they are asking to install our Bedrock core. So the dependency which we need to install is agent core strands, because by default we are using strands agent when the starter toolkit which they gave. And like I said, this is strands is not the requirement here. It's just the starter kit create for you. But if you don't want strands, you can use separate agent as well, and we can check that. So now here we are installing starter kit, strands, and Bedrock AgentCore. Once it is done, we're just gonna verify that AgentCore is installed. All right, so all the dependencies are installed. Let's see. Okay, so we can see it is installed. Now it support different commands like create a new agent, project, and deploy, invoke, status, destroy, and all those things. But we're gonna use the create first to create a new agent for us. Right now you see there is no agent at this point in this folder. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna use create. Now we go there. And where should we create a project? I think so we can create here itself. So, and a basic starter, production ready, defined, Terraform CDK. We don't need a CDK and Terraform at this point. Support for different agents. So you can select, so you have strands and Google LangChain. Just be sure, like starting in first command, we have installed strands agent. If you choose to use something else, just download or install the dependencies for it. So we selected strands here, so let's go with that. And again, you have support for different LLMs out of the box. You can choose any of this, but we are using Bedrock. And at this point, we are not worry about the memory, so let's remove it. Git, sure, we can. And if you want, you can. If you don't, let's see. Let's assume no at this point, and then let's see what it creates for you. So this is the bare minimum once it create. So if you see, we haven't selected anything specific. What we did, we selected a name which was, I think so, Hyper Aqua it gave, and then starter project we have recommended, we selected, and strands as a framework, Bedrock on backend APIs, and that's it. So let's see what it does. So right now, if you go to the folder, we can see that there is a Hyper Aqua project which has been created here, and in this one you can see what it did. So inside the source, there's a main file. I think this is an entry point here. Yeah, so if you see, it has an entry point which is a invoke function. It takes the payload and the context, and now because we use strands, so it is using strands here, call, and there's a format, there's nothing in a main. You are just running your app. If you see, they have created this Bedrock core app, which is something new which comes with Bedrock AgentCore. So this is an out of the box template which we receive. So we have an agent code here, initializing of the Bedrock AgentCore app, and yeah, that's it. There's a pretty simple. I don't see there's only single tool which is add numbers. There is a model folder. Okay, so this is loading Bedrock model for us. MCP client, there is this one single client they have created. So there's not much code which comes with it, but it has a basic code for your agent. Now, important thing here, it did create this YAML. So if you see this, this is a CloudFormation which basically tells for when you try to deploy. I think that it's going to be used for that. So we are creating an agent here, resource, and that's it. There is not much configuration. We have set it up at this point. So let's go to the second next step, what they are suggesting. So once we have created this and we have chosen a framework, it is also asking us agent should create the required agent code with selected YAML for configuration and necessary dependencies. Okay, now after that they are asking us to test it. Let's test it locally and see what happens. Bedrock dev main. So okay, I think so we need to go into that folder and then try it. Oh, so my AWS credentials are not set up. So let me set those up at this point quickly. So now we're gonna see, okay, AgentCore dev, which they said. It seems it is starting on a port 8080 and it did created. Then once it is there, I think what is the next step? Command line in the separate terminal. Okay, so let's test. So we gonna start a new terminal, and I guess we need to go to qua hyper and then try this. It's complaining about codes. AgentCore not found. Oh, okay. So I need to activate the Python environment. I think so. It is inside this, right? CD. All right. All right, I think so it should work now. The server. So perfect. So now we can see that it is running locally and it can respond. And now we should see that, okay, the call went to the server and then server responded. So let's stop this and go to the next step. So now we are able to run it locally. I don't think so at this point we need to worry about logging much. Let's launch and in a runtime and then deploy our server. So how we gonna do it? So what they are saying, once we got agent launch, it built a Docker image, no Docker required locally. Okay. And then it also creates an all IAM role for it and deploy into AgentCore runtime. Perfect. So the command which we require is just AgentCore launch. Now let's run this and wait for it. So if you can see, it has done some changes here, and if I can take you to probably here, you can see it has created a new role which is like an execution role for our agent. I think so it was already updated this, but I don't remember though. Yeah, and let's see, let's wait for it. Now it is running AgentCore. While it is running, let's log in into our AWS environment and then see what is happening there. So this is AgentCore in AWS. If you search for AgentCore, you should be, this is a landing page where actually you can see what it does, like basically high level architecture and the small components and their definition here. The thing which we are interested in, we go to the runtime basically. And in this case, we see that it has created one new agent for us. The status it shows is ready. It's a version 1. All right. And okay, so it is up. Now, important thing is how we gonna access this. So next step is invoke. And okay, so let's see, is this the same thing which they ask us to do here? Okay, yeah. So in this case, what they're saying, we create an object, which is a prompt, would be the prompt which we are passing, and then we can directly call our agent from here, from the CLI. So let's go and try it out. So let's see. Perfect. So tell me a joke. Yes, we are able to access it through AgentCore service. Now let's go to the next step. Okay, so now is like they also we also have a support in Boto 3, and what we do basically, we initialize the AgentCore client here. this ARN we should be able to get from console, or I think so it could be available in our CloudFormation. If not, we can get from the console. And you invoke the client, basically you call the runtime and pass the ARN session payload default, and then get the response. So let's check this out. For that, what we can do is we can simply create a new file. Let's call it test.py, and then just paste this. And what we need is ARN, which we are trying to call, and let's see if we have an agent ARN. So we do have an agent ARN available here, so let's use this one. And let me go to my test file. Oh, test.py. Okay. And I guess that's it. So let's test this one. Test.py. We ran into few issues, so let's see what it is complaining about. It is saying protocol no region error. Okay, so it seems like my default region is not something which is where is not the same which I have deployed. My my default region is not the one which basically the runtime environment which we are calling. So let us give a region here. So I'm gonna give here region name equals to which region we have our client. Let's see. Oregon. Perfect. So that's two. Okay. Now once we have done this, let's see. Clean it up, run it. It did pass. I do see there are some error in decoding, which is weird. So we got the response here. Let's do one thing. Let's print the response. But it won't be something which we can read. So what we can do instead of that, we can just simply, instead of decoding, we can just print this part. Yep, and this might be, so it's complaining about it's not able to decode. So let's see, we are not doing anything now. Let's just see what we are receiving from them. So we got the response successfully. All right. Okay. So maybe the sample code which they have provided does not need more formatting, because I do see the response. So if you see saying here's a joke, blah 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 blah, don't scientist, because they make up atom. I don't know why it's returning the same response every time. That's weird. All right, so we do see that we are able to invoke our runtime agent, which we just deployed. Basically we just created now and deployed into AWS environment, and now it is available for anyone to use. Now the second thing which I wanted to try is create a new agent. So in this case, what we did with HyperAqua is something which we created from you can say we created basically from our side, right? Like from AgentCore. But now there's a most use cases people already have their own agents developed. So let's do that. Instead of using from AgentCore, we're gonna go and create our new one. So for that, I'm gonna use new folder. Let's call it strands. Let's simply call agent.py file, which we can use. Now let's go to the strand documentation. We can use the same environment, I guess, or should we create a new one here? And now, do they have different requirements? Maybe we can create a new one. All right, so let's do this. Let's go. Now we are done with this, so let's do this one. Let's spin up a new one. Let's go and strands and start creating a new environment. Now we have done this. Let's install the dependency. So we were using basically strands agent, and probably we might need tools and builder. Okay. So blah, blah, blah. We create the setup, agent py, and requirement, and in requirement we have these two. So now I've done this. Now we are strands builder. We also need requirements. All right, so now in requirements we have these two, and in init file we have this. So now we do this. Now after that we just gonna copy this code into agent.py. I know it should be pretty whatever the standard they have provided, so I'm just going with it right now. And what it does basically, what it is, there's a single tool. I don't think so we're going to use the tool, but just come there, and they're saying agent initialized here. This is a message, and we are calling. Now this is our agent which we created. Now the question is, how we gonna deploy? Let's assume this is our agent, which everyone have at this point. Somewhat more complex. This is the easiest one we can get. Now let's the problem which we are trying to solve is that how we gonna take this bare minimum agent and deploy into AWS without creating any EC2 instance, without creating any Lambda, just using by AgentCore. So here what we're gonna do now. The next steps, I'm gonna go show how we can configure this. So first thing, to make this work, we need our Bedrock AgentCore dependency, which we have seen is the same thing, which basically we gonna copy from their the standard template which they provided. So what we did, we just take this Bedrock and we just initialize our app here. So I'm just gonna go here and just initialize the app. Now if you see the one thing which they were doing is from the app, they were setting up the entry point. So entry point is something which would be your invoke function, the function which will be called once your agent is invoked. In our case, what we need is basically, we don't have any function. So let's go and create one. Async definition, we call it invoke. I guess we can, I know we can call it anything. You don't have to call it this. And we set up as an entry point. And what we can do is, we have an agent, and then we just pass this payload here to the agent and then return this. It's the simplest thing. So we basically received a prompt and removed from here. We received a prompt. We don't need a message because we're gonna receive it from passed in to us from AgentCore. Basically, we are receiving a payload, passing a payload, and then we are good with that. Now let's just see the invoke if there's anything else we need to do. Okay, so payload, we don't get a prompt directly. If you see here, we are getting inside a prompt object, and yeah, that's what we saw there as well. So let me replace it there. Okay, so this is our agent right now, which receives the prompt and just responded. At this point, we don't care about anything else in this agent, and that's it. The agent has calculator, letter, counter, some tools. I mean, I don't think so we're gonna use this for now, but it has those. What else we need? We do need an entry point, so run our app. So let's do this, and yep. So now our agent is ready at this point. The next part, which is actually a little important, is how we gonna deploy this agent into our agent core. Now we do have an app registered, but we still need a commands which we run, like a launch command, and for that we will need a Docker image. So basically how it works, when you are bringing your own agent behind the scene, which AgentCore do it for us, and we're gonna do it now by ourselves, is AgentCore. When you run the AgentCore framework, it creates a Docker image for you, push into ECR and use that image to create your agent. And for that, what we're going to do, we're going to create one new configuration file. Let's call it config.py. Config.py is something which we're going to use Bedrock. I'm gonna bring it here. So we're gonna use a runtime from starter toolkit, and let's call this one. These are few dependencies which we need. Now we do have a session, just to create a session, portal session, and let's call this, let's agent runtime equals to runtime. Wow, nice. Okay, now we do have a session and runtime. What else we need? Now let's give some name for agent. I mean, this is something, say core demo, and yeah, let's call it this. And now the runtime, what it does, it also provide a configuration file with which you can configure your basically Docker image. So let's do that. So we're gonna use response and agent runtime dot configure, and for that it requires few parameters, which is like, first it needs entry point. Now entry point is something where your agent is. At this point, if you see, we have in the same directory, there's no path, so I can directly give agent.py. Now the second thing which is required is the execution role. So either if you have an execution role, you can give it if you have created in somewhere else, but if you wanted to create its own execution role, you directly give auto create execution role. And let's set this property to true. Now once we have done this, now we also need an ECR where our images will go. So let's create ECR for us. Last, we need a requirements file, basically where all our dependencies will be for our agent. So our agent has some dependency of strands, and maybe it might be using something else too. So it is also using, now we have seen that protocol, so we will also need to give that dependency there. We just put some strands dependency earlier. Requirements.txt, that's it. Actually there are some optional field. So region, in like my default region might be different, but we are using US West 2, whether others are deployed, so I'm just gonna hard code that. And similarly the name, I mean, if you don't give, it's gonna select by itself. So but we have created a name, so let's just give that at this point. And that is what you require to create your Docker file. So let's do one thing, let's run. So now we have the trends, and then we created, let's rename this is a weird rename. Instead of this, let's call it config, make more sense. Okay, yeah, let's run this and then see config.py. All right, no module name, this is this. So I didn't install it, so let me do one thing. Now we have done this, install all the dependency, let's run. Perfect. Now you do see that it created few files for us out of the box, the AgentCore. One of the important file is this Docker image. Now this is the image which will be used for your agent. It also created one basically CloudFormation, so where it has an entry point. Now right now if you see, it does not have our execution role, it has created nothing. So for that, what we need to do, we need to launch our Bedrock AgentCore. So this would be the same what we did in the previous command, which is agent dot basically launch. The only difference would be here is we gonna use our AgentCore. Let's say, let's call it launch, and we're gonna use the runtime, agent runtime, which we created. So we're gonna use this to launch our instead of CLI, and launch. Okay, we can do this. I can also show you something. Normally, like, you're gonna have a lot of logs created, and what you can do, you can also pass, there's an environment variable which I found it helpful just to, when I was debugging, you can ignore some of the logs which we don't need. So for example, there's a continuous ping, invocation, a lot of invocation requests, you don't want to log those, so just you can ignore those. And yeah, and let's just run this now. So now it is running for us a Docker image. Okay, and you can see it is also queued for deployment. So it is going to deploy for now. If you notice now, the configuration has changed a lot. Now you have assigned a new execution role, which was not there before. We have also successfully created a new ECR repository. There is no agent at this point. I think so it is still in deployment phase. I do remember one thing, we missed it here. So although this will deploy successfully, but I think so agent will fail. It just, agent still does not have the dependency which is for Bedrock core. So let's do one thing, let's add this, and then we can deploy the second revision there. Perfect. So now it is deploying and setting it up. What we can do, I can quickly show you here. If you go to the core and probably refresh, you see there is another core demo which has been published here. Now, whenever you publish a new image, it creates a new version for you. So this is the first version, and like I said, we just updated Bedrock agent, another dependency. So I'm gonna again run the same command, config file. What it's gonna do, it's gonna again create a new Docker image, push into ECR, and then again create a new version for us. Meanwhile, it is there. Let's test this, our deployed version. So for that, remember we have this file which is basically we tested here for Python test which we created. Now in this, how we were accessing, basically using the ARN. With this trends, we should have a new ARN generated. Now let's go and check it out. So you see we have a new ARN now. And this is the agent which we created. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna go here and replace into this test file. And once we paste into a test file, and let's see if we are able to get the response from it or not. And let's wait for it deployment, because did it deploy again? I guess so. Okay. So now we gonna check with the new agent ARN. The classic one. I don't know why it just tells the same joke every time. Okay, but you can see it is calling a different agent, and for the reason for that is, like, you can see the ARN, which is a little bit core demo is different than the one which we had before, which is Hyper Aqua. And also we can go here and then see, you can see there is a more analytics gonna come. I would say if I just refresh this, observability, we didn't enable it, and you should be able to see the logs. Yes, now you see it is called here, and this is the where you should basically see, so this is what, like, our agent has been called and invoked successfully, and this is the response which we got. The way it is, it worked because it called our agent and then make the response from there. So as this part of the demo, what we have seen, basically first we created one agent using AgentCore. Basically their default template, we just followed their documentation which they have provided, and we created Hyper Aqua. In the second part, what we have seen, we created one agent from scratch, which is just agent how we normally work with, and we deployed this agent into AWS environment, basically in AgentCore, running under AgentCore, using this simple configuration of AgentCore which they have provided. In this case, we didn't create any EC2 instance, we didn't create Lambda, and now we have agent available which we can use our Boto 3 client and test it out and access it on the fly. So just let me know, guys, if you have any questions. Hope this will be helpful for you when you're working with AWS. Just comment down below if you need anything. I'll try to get back as soon as possible. Thank you. Have a great day.